macros are on their way, but that was scary.
Welcome back to Trucking the 7 Seas. This is episode number 96, and in this episode, we're going to go over weeks 17 through 19. For this episode, we're going to cover 3 weeks because I took some time off for the 4th of July to visit family in Nevada and Oregon. If you're new to this channel, welcome. I started this channel in order to show exactly what truck drivers make. I started as a company driver, working for Night Transportation, moved on to a lease operator, working for Night Transportation, then an owner-operator, working for Landstar, and now we are an owner-operator, running our own authority. I show all of the loads I take, what the revenue is, what the expenses are, and what my net cash flow is, and I compile all this information that I put into a spreadsheet that I share with you at the end of every video. So if this is a topic that interests you, follow the channel. But a couple of announcements before we begin. First announcement is I had a longtime viewer suggest I make a Buy Me a Coffee webpage. So Buy Me a Coffee is very similar to Patreon. It's just a website that you can donate to me if you would like, and it just helps me support my work. So I went ahead and started that, and I'll just put an overlay on the screen right now. So you're seeing it right now. It's just a very simple website, just a place you can make a donation, and I just decided to start one. You made the suggestion, and I went ahead and did it. So there it is right there. It's through Stripe, actually, so the processing payment is through Stripe. It's not something I created, so that's where it's from, and all of the donations go straight to me. I am probably going to use this same webpage in the future for consulting also. So some of you guys have been asking for consulting, and previously I just was not doing this because I felt that since I wasn't working the spot market, and then I didn't have my own authority, it's not the best, right? I mean, if I'm consulting, I should kind of have a broader understanding of the market. So some of you guys have been asking for basically like a couple of years, a year or two, basically since I started this blog, for consulting, and I've had maybe a few dozen of you ask, and I've always said no, because I just didn't feel comfortable doing it because I didn't know enough and I was not running the spot market, and B, I didn't have the time. So that's another issue here is some of you guys are asking for it, but if I do a consulting like video call or whatever, I basically have to, I'm driving down the road, I'm a full-time truck driver, driving down the road, I have to stop, find a good signal, set up the video call or whatever, and then sit there for an hour, and the whole affair is probably going to cost me about 2 hours while I'm trying to deliver a load. So I've decided I will almost surely use this in the coming weeks for consulting. So if you would like a consulting session, you'll be able to make a donation on this. I'm still debating what to charge and how that's going to work. So if you make a donation right now, or you want consulting right now, and you send it and you put it on here, no guarantees I'm going to get around to it because I haven't yet decided how I'm going to work it. But that is probably coming down the pipe, where I will use this Buy Me a Coffee donation page, both for just donations if you want to support my work here, and consulting. So that's just a little announcement there. I have a donation / in the future consulting page. So there you go. And the second announcement is, as already mentioned, I took a bunch of time off past couple of weeks, so that's why we're going to cover 3 weeks this week. I had a bunch of time off. Just visited family around the 4th of July in Nevada and Oregon. So I take time off, generally speaking, in January, around the 4th of July, and then Thanksgiving and Christmas. Those are pretty much the 4 times I take off. So now that I've taken off the July break, I guess, I'm pretty much intending to run all the way until Thanksgiving. So basically it's July 12th right now, and I'm not planning on stopping until sometime in November. So we're going to really hit the road now. Took some time off. The market peaks during the season, so it starts to ramp up around right after the 4th of July holiday, and then kind of keeps going up until basically Christmas, and then after Christmas it just crashes after the holidays. So I'm tending to run basically all the way until Thanksgiving, and I have no intention of taking a single day off until probably Thanksgiving. So let's do it. But with all that said, last episode we left off in Tucson, Arizona. So we dropped a load in Tucson, Arizona, picked it up in the Los Angeles area, dropped it in Tucson, and then at that point I was looking to get up to the Reno area to go visit family, because again I was taking time off to visit family in the Reno area and also the Portland area. So first stop was actually the Portland area, or excuse me, the Reno area. So I was looking for a load from Tulsa to Reno. Um, One dynamic about the West Coast, I think I mentioned a few times, is really only 4 markets that are worth running. It's Phoenix, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, and Reno. So I was looking to find a load directly from Phoenix to Reno. If you take anything anywhere else in basically the entire West Coast, you will end up deadheading back to one of those 4 regions. So if you take a load to Billings, Montana, you would likely end up deadheading all the way to Las Vegas because there's nothing up there. So I was looking around trying to find a load to Reno, but I could not find one. So I needed to get to Reno. So instead of finding a load to Reno, I ended up finding this load right here. So this one's going from Tulsa, Arizona to Vancouver, Washington, which is ironically Portland. However, I didn't want to go to Portland. I was visiting family in Reno first. So I took this one to Vancouver. And then one of the dynamics about the West Coast is the loads pay enough going to the Pacific Northwest or Montana that you can deadhead significant distances. And that's actually what I did here. So I took this load from Phoenix to Vancouver in order to get to Reno, which sounds backwards considering I am going to Portland next. But it works out just fine. You can see the rate per mile is 277 per mile there, because you will have to deadhead to Reno anyway. So that's what I did. So I ended up taking this load from Phoenix to Vancouver and then deadheading all the way to Reno. And if you're on the East Coast or you're running the Midwest or Texas or whatever, that sounds insane to deadhead like 400 miles. However, it works out because the loads going to the Pacific Northwest or Idaho or Montana or Wyoming pay so good. So that's what I ended up doing. So I booked this load from Tulsa, which is Phoenix, to Vancouver, and then I deadheaded down to Reno, and that's when I took some time off. But for the time being, let's go to Vancouver. Okay, so I dropped that load in Vancouver, and per the plan, I went ahead and deadheaded all the way to Reno. So that's what I did, dropped it, and then deadheaded all the way to Reno. Now, I did look for a load out of Portland, and there really weren't any. I think there was maybe 1 or 2 that could have got me generally to the area I wanted to go to, but again, it paid like 90 cents per mile, and it's just not worth your time. It is totally fine on the West Coast to deadhead out of these dead regions, such as the Pacific Northwest, or Idaho or Montana, and just go to Reno, Las Vegas, Phoenix, or Los Angeles, depending on where you are. So it's totally fine, and that's what I did here. Deadheaded all the way to Reno, and then once I was in Reno, I took a few days off. So then after I took a few days off, I was looking then to get up to the Portland area to visit family up there. So looking for a load anywhere basically in the Pacific Northwest from basically Eugene to Seattle would have been fine, and then I could just kind of deadhead to where I needed to go. So I was looking around, and I ended up finding this load right here. So this one's going from Sparks, Nevada to Eugene, Oregon. You'll notice the pay is $4.22 per mile, which is pretty decent. The reason why it was actually very decent, because you're going to have to deadhead back. And that's just, that is the way it is. So found this one, worked out fine, got me to where I needed to go. It was maybe 100 miles south of Portland, but that's okay. So found this load, booked it, and then we're headed to Eugene, Oregon. Let's go. All right, so then after that Eugene, Oregon load, I went ahead and took a few days off in the Pacific Northwest. Weather's really nice this time of year, so that's what I did. Had a good 4th of July, blew off some fireworks, and just visited family up there. So that was good. But then after that, I was basically done taking time off. So took time off in the Reno area, about 3 or 4 days, and then I took time off in Portland area, again about 3 or 4 days. And now we're looking to run. So first thing I did after I got done taking time off, you guessed it, I deadheaded right back to Reno. So there's nothing up there. This is the Pacific Northwest. It is a dead market. You can maybe find something out of there, but it's going to pay like trash. So it's better to just simply deadhead to Reno from this location. And there's, you know, a lot of dynamics like that. If you drop something, say in Salt Lake, best course of action is just to deadhead straight to Las Vegas and do that sort of running. So that's what I did. Got done with my time off, deadheaded straight to Reno, started looking around. There were a handful of loads popping here and there, but looked around, looking to get to basically anywhere east, Midwest, Texas, maybe even like Pennsylvania for the time being, and the South, anywhere in there. Basically looking to head east is what I was looking to do. So I was looking around, and I ended up finding this load right here. So this one's going from Gabbs, Nevada to Neosho, Missouri. Gabbs, Nevada was a little ways out of Reno, so it was about 100 miles away from Reno and in the absolute middle of nowhere. So one thing Nevada is known for is its mines. It's called the Silver State for a reason. And this was a mine kind of in the middle of nowhere. So I went ahead and deadheaded out there, and it was like a chemical for dog food is what it was. I don't know exactly. Apparently they put like some sort of mineral or whatever in dog food. It's sort of like salt. I'm not 100% sure what it was. Anyways, picked it up from just a mine right in the middle of smack dab nowhere, and then we're headed to Neosho, Missouri. Paid okay, got me to where I wanted to go, which was the Midwest in this instance. So I thought that was fine. Again, the deadhead is excessive because I took the load, well, I just deadheaded straight down from Eugene. But other than that, pretty decent load. And now we're going to Neosho, Missouri. Let's do it. Okay, so then after that Neosho, Missouri load, it was a Friday. So I dropped it on Friday, early Friday morning, and then I was looking to find another load going wherever, hopefully maybe 800 to 1,000 miles minimum, so I could get through the weekend. It was a Friday again. So I was looking around, and I ended up finding a load going from Pittsburgh, Kansas to Rockford, Illinois. So deadheaded from Neosho to Pittsburgh, Kansas. It was about 50 miles. Got there, and the shipper did not have the product, which really sucked for two reasons. One, I do get a truck order not used, which is $150, so that's nice. But by the time I got there, it was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday, which put me in a pretty precarious situation because at that point I needed to book a load to get through the weekend. So that was a problem. So I started looking around, and I made a bunch of offers. Just made a bunch of offers out there. Some good, some bad. I wasn't in a good spot at that point because I did not want to have to sit through the weekend. So I was looking around, and I ended up finding this load right here. So this one going from Joplin, Missouri to Edgerton, Kansas. This one was pick and drop on Friday. So I was able to go down, pick it up, and then drop it on same day. And that was fine with me because I then found another load going from Edgerton, Kansas to Salt Lake City that picked up on Sunday. So I was able to find this load right here, pick it up in Joplin, drop it in Edgerton, and then on Sunday, which is actually tomorrow, based on when I'm filming this, I'm going to be able to grab a load from Edgerton to Salt Lake City and deliver it then. So that worked out nicely. However, this Joplin, Missouri load is going to be the last load for this episode. So we're going to go ahead and get into the spreadsheet right now. All right, guys, so as discussed, we are going to cover weeks 17 through 19 in this episode. So let's do it. For week 17, we did one load. In that one load, we got 1,263 miles. Paid a total of $3,500 at $277 per mile. Fuel expense, we fueled up 2 times. In those 2 times, we paid $426 at 34 cents per mile, and there were no maintenance expenses this week. Other expenses, hotels $90, scales $14, parking $40, Oregon trip permits $224 for $369 at 29 cents per mile. Fixed costs, we had our insurance payment come in at $2,023. We also had a DAT load board payment of $18 for a total of $2,041 at $1.62 per mile. Totals for week 17, total expenses were $2,837 at $225 per mile. Total revenue was $3,500 at $277 per mile. That brought a net settlement to $662 at 52 cents per mile. Okay, going to briefly go over the caveats for week 17. Since we got 3 weeks, this is going to be very down and dirty. I'm just going to go over the big ones. Big one for this week is that we had an insurance payment come in. So the insurance payment comes in once per month. It's $2,000, and that pretty much killed the week. Even with us only hauling one load this week, it would have been a pretty decent week if we hadn't had such a big insurance payment. So we had that, and that kind of killed the week, but we still managed to make a profit. Not much of one. So there's that. We did take a bunch of time off this week. So all in all, this could have been a lot worse, and I'm not too upset with how it went, okay? So that is week 17. That is when I first started taking time off. Oh, I will mention, I never paid the $2,000 for the Oregon trip permit. So you have to, Oregon does it really stupidly where you have to basically cough up $2,000 and send it to the Oregon DMV for your IFTA payments. And then if you don't properly file like your IFTA payments to Oregon, they take it out of the bond. It's an entire stupid process. I'm from Oregon. I was born and raised there, and this is idiotic. If every state did this, you'd have to cough up $100,000 to start a trucking company. But that's the way they did it. I didn't actually pay this $2,000 yet. I probably will in the future. So for the time being, every time I go into Oregon, I got to get a trip permit, and that is what this fee right here is for. And there's another one coming up next week. So just a quick note there. I have not paid that $2,000. I probably will eventually. I just haven't done it, but there's that. So let's go ahead and move on to week 18 now. For week 18, we did one load. In that one load, we got 967 miles, paid a total of $1,800 at $1.86 per mile. Fuel expense, fueled up one time for $556 at 58 cents per mile, and there were no maintenance expenses this week. Other expenses, tolls 82, scales 14, Oregon trip permit $156 at $253 at 26 cents per mile. Fixed costs, email $7.20, DAT load board $149, truck stop load board $42 for a total of $198 at 20 cents per mile. Totals for week 18, total expenses were $1,008 at $1.04 per mile. Total revenue was $1,800 at $1.86 per mile. That brought a net settlement to $791 at 82 cents per mile. All right, caveats for week 18. There are really very few. In fact, there's not much of any. I mean, the tolls came in for tolls I probably did last week or whatever, so they settle after like a week or two. So I didn't actually go through tolls this week, but I did previously. Again, Oregon trip permit. I did not pay the $2,000, so I have to do that every time I enter Oregon. And then that's about it. Nothing too special about this week. Again, still managed to cough out a profit, even though there were multiple days off taken this week, so I'm not too upset with this whole thing. But there's that right there. So yeah, now let's go ahead and move on to week 19. However, before I move on to week 19, one thing I did forget to mention, while I was running from Joplin, Missouri to Edgerton, Kansas, yeah, I think it was that run, I blew my steer tire. So I was driving down the road, and a trailer, like a Ford F-150, hauling like a little, trailer that you'd put like motorcycles on, dropped a bolt. It dropped a bolt, and it was kind of a long one. It was about that big. I could see the bolt, and it started hopping. And I saw it, and like, how, I guess, how do I got to do this? It kind of took like a bit of an angled approach, right? So it didn't hop like straight. It hopped like a football, right? Where you go boing, 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 boing like this. So I started to swerve to avoid it because I did not want to run that over. But as I was swerving like this, it began swerving, the exact same way. And it was hopping like a football, so it was very difficult for me to gauge where it was. And I hit it. I hit it with my passenger steer tire. And I knew I hit it, but it didn't pop my tire. So I was like, oh, crap, okay. So I kept going, and that was in Kansas City. So no, it was actually the Gabbs, Nevada to Neosho, Missouri load that this happened on. I was almost in, I was close to Neosho. I was just past Kansas City. So what happened in Kansas City, kept driving, it did not pop my tire. Kept driving, and I should have stopped, and I should have looked at it. I got outside the city, so there were a couple of truck stops, and my mistake for not stopping and looking. I don't know if I would have seen anything. I don't know. It wasn't, the bolt was not like inside my tire, I don't think. So I probably may have not even seen anything anyway. However, as I got past Kansas City, kind of in the middle of nowhere, kind of in the farmland, my steer tire blew. And first off, I did not get it on camera. I tried to find it on camera, and my loop record wasn't working. So I have a dash cam. You guys see it on the beginning and the end. But when I looked at it on this event, which was a huge event, it didn't record. So I was very upset with that. I did get this video though.
All right, just blew that on the freeway. That was my first steer tire blowout. So got it off the road safely. Sitting on the side of the road right now. Just called Sapros. They're on their way, but that was scary.
Yeah, so blew my steer tire. I was in the right-hand lane, and it veered to the right. And I see why sometimes when these steer tires blow, guys just completely lose control of their vehicles. When that thing blew, it pulled like a motherfucker. It pulled so hard. And I was going, I think 70, which was the speed limit. I was just cruising at 70, the speed limit. No issues. Again, I should have looked at the tire after I hit that thing, but I didn't. Whoops. Managed to get it off the road with absolutely no issues. But that was pretty scary. I'm not gonna lie, because it pulled. It pulled hard. I mean, I was going like this, but my truck was going like that. So big shoulder. I was on the freeway. There was nobody around me, and I did manage to not take it into the ditch. So that is very scary, and just a lesson there. If I hit something with a steer tire, I absolutely need to check it pretty much immediately. Now, I couldn't check it immediately because I was inside Kansas City, and there's no place to stop. But I should have checked it at the next truck stop. I think I got like 20 minutes down the road after hitting that before it blew. Again, I really wish I would have caught it on camera, but my dash cam was actually malfunctioning, and I didn't realize it. So that sucked a lot. But that was very scary. It blew. I got over. It happened right next to an exit, so I just got all the way over on the exit. I was pretty far off the road and called emergency repair. So yeah, that sucked a lot. However, yeah, that sucked a lot. Took them a few hours to get fixed, so it wasn't too bad, but I did get pegged $1,500 for that. And just a lesson there, make sure you properly look at your tire if you hit something like that, because that was a rough one. But yeah, that happened. So there you go. All right, week 19. For week 19, we did 2 loads and we got a truck order not used. Paid a total of $3,850 at $1.58 per mile. Fuel expense, we fueled up 3 times for a total of $1,312 at 54 cents per mile. Maintenance expense, so we had a Freightliner shop do a PM on our truck, and then we had our steer blowout for $1,500 for a total of $2,575 at $1.05 per mile. Other expenses, scales 14. Our 2290 was due for $550 at $560 at 23 cents per mile. Fixed costs, APU payment came in for $418. OmniTrack's payment came in for $37 for a total of $455 at 19 cents per mile. Totals for week 19, total expenses were $4,907 at $2.01 per mile. Total revenue was $3,850 at $1.58 per mile. That brought our net settlement to negative $1,057 at negative 43 cents per mile. Okay, so caveats here. Well, biggest ones are the PM and the blowout. So when I was in Eugene, I did forget to mention I dropped it at a Freightliner and had them do a proper PM on it. The reason why I did this was because I wanted just to drop the truck off. I wanted to have a safe place to park the truck while I went and visited family in Portland, and I needed the PM, and I wanted a mechanic who would just move the thing around while I was gone, so I didn't have to. So I went ahead and I just dropped it at the Freightliner dealership and had them do a PM on it, which is fine. Paid a little bit extra for sure, but I was paying for all of the filters to get replaced, have a Freightliner mechanic look at it, and kind of most importantly, park it for about a week in a secure facility, which was very nice. I didn't have to worry about it. So I paid a little bit more than I normally would for a PM, but it was a full PM, and I was able to just let them move it around and park it in their lot. So that's why this PM is a little bit more expensive than normal. And then I had the steer tire blowout for $1,500, so that hurt a lot. Basically, big maintenance expenses caused quite a bit of problems here. So $2,500, $1.05 per mile, pretty much ruined my entire week. There you go. And then below that, the 2290 was due. So for those of you who don't know, the 2290 is just a heavy highway use tax. So if you drive a truck on the road, you have to pay the government 550 bucks per truck, basically. And that's what I did. So I filed that. Cost me 500 bucks. Ouch. Okay, and then you can see the totals there. Not a good week. Could have been a lot worse. If I don't blow that steer tire, well, it's actually still in the profit bill, so that's good. This was mostly a proper week. I think there was the Monday, basically, I didn't do any driving effectively, so a little short, but in the end, it was really the steer tire blowout, the 2290 and stuff like that kind of killed me. But there it is. Lost a little bit, but could have been a whole lot worse. Could have crashed the truck, so I didn't do that. That's good. All right, now let's go ahead and move on to the overalls. All right, total since starting the program, driven a total of 4,402 miles. Total expenses have been $63,062 at $1.42 per mile, and that is my cost per mile. Total revenue has been $79,576 at $1.79 per mile. Brings our total profit loss to $16,514 at 37 cents per mile, and all of these loads are dry van. Okay, yeah, so there is total since starting the program. So we are currently in the green, and we keep moving in the green, although obviously the last few weeks were not good, but we're in the green, and that's a good thing. So if you're wondering why my expenses were so high, maybe you're new to this channel, if you're wondering why my cost per mile is so high, if you scroll all the way to the top, so I'm just going to go ahead and scroll all the way to the top, you will see my startup costs. And I made a whole video on this showing you exactly what my startup costs are. You can watch that video if you'd like to know more. But in the end, to get my authority active, it cost me $18,000. So for theoretical purposes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the startup costs, and we're going to scroll back down, and we're going to go over the numbers based on not having any startup costs to show us what a typical week would look like. Now, the startup costs absolutely count, but by deleting them, it gives us a better look at what a typical week would look like. So let's go ahead and do that right now. All right, totals without the startup costs. Total expenses are $44,805 at $1.01 per mile. Total revenue is $79,576 at $1.79 per mile. Brings our total profit loss to $34,771 at 78 cents per mile. Okay, yeah, so these are the totals without my startup costs. So this is pretty bad right now. This is not good at all. I mean, 78 cents per mile, my truck is paid off. So that's not good at all. We did take some time off over the last few weeks, and the sample size is pretty low. I do expect that as time goes on, and as the market gets a little bit better because of the summer coming around, Thanksgiving coming around, Christmas coming around, the rates are going to go up a little bit. I do expect this to go up. I think what my napkin math is saying is I'm going to make about $1 per mile once everything levels out by the end of the year, give or take. That would be my guess. But for right now, we're not looking good. We've had a lot of maintenance issues, and we just took quite a bit of time off, so that is certainly slowing us down. All right, so with that said, we're going to go ahead and go over averages and other information. Going to keep the startup costs out of this because it will drastically skew everything and make it kind of irrelevant. So let's go over the averages without the startup costs. Averages and other information. Average weekly paychecks, $1,789. Average weekly miles is 2,285. Total fuel costs have been $16,892 at 38 cents per mile. I have saved $1,385 using my OTR fuel card. Average price per gallon is $3.25. Total maintenance costs have been $9,984 at 22 cents per mile. If I kept this up for a 52-week period, I'd make $93,000 and drive 118,000 miles. Total revenue has been $79,000 at $4,000 per week. Driven a total of 3,900 miles in deadhead, which equals 8.91% of total mileage. We've been employed 136 days, or 19 weeks. Taken 17 days off, 119 days on duty, 66 total loads. Average load length is 673 miles. And if we had a theoretical $500 per week truck payment, we would have made $25,000 at 56 cents per mile. Okay, yeah, so just going over a few notes here. Maintenance costs are still killing us. So with that blowout and the PM, that hurt a lot. So we're at 22 cents per mile. That's quite high. That's very high. I expect that to drop down to around 15 cents per mile by the end of the year. So this is killing us quite a bit. Not much to say. Not much I can do either. I mean, a bolt comes flying down the road. I swerve, to avoid it, but it's bouncing like a football, and I just can't avoid it, and it cost me $1,500. So not much to be done there. That's hurting quite a bit. Most everything else though, pretty standard stuff. 118,000 miles, that's pretty normal. Again, I just took quite a bit of time off, and that's going to go up here in the coming months. So I expect that to go up to 125 to 130,000 miles by the end of the year. So we'll see how it goes though, but that's what I would guess. Time off, yeah, I just took quite a bit of time off, so my days off are a little high for my standards. Now it's still less than a day off per week. So you guys watching this, I am still taking less than a day off per week. And I would guess by the end of the year, it's going to be about maybe a little less than this. It'll be like 0.6 days off per week is probably what I'm going to average. I do live in this truck. I am just a full-time truck driver. I don't have a family. I am single, no kids, no nothing like that. So I am just running. So I am taking very little time off, but you see it right there that 17 days off. That's a lot for me, but that's probably not a lot for most people. So just be aware of that. All right, and then if you look down at the bottom column here, row, whatever, this shows what I would make with a $500 per week truck payment, and it's not looking pretty at all. So that's less than company driver pay. So if I had a $500 per week truck payment, I would not be doing too hot. Market's not good right now. I've had excessive maintenance issues, which have cost me both time and money. And yeah, so that's going on there. I do expect all of these numbers again to start increasing from this point going forward. I have no intention of taking a day off for quite a while. It is turning summer, the market's improving, and I expect everything to start going up from here. Hopefully these maintenance issues stop getting in my way, but that is what we're dealing with right now. So far, not good, but I do expect things to really start picking up at this point. So there's my totals thus far. Okay, yeah, so there is week 17 through 19. We're all cut up, so start posting a weekly video again. I took some time off, so that's why, doing 3 weeks this go around. Again, I have no intention of taking any time off to pretty much Thanksgiving. So we are going to really start rolling at this point, and hopefully these numbers start improving. Hopefully I stop popping tires, especially the steer tire, because that was scary. And yeah, other than that, I think yeah, that'll pretty much do it for this episode, guys. If you're interested in this spreadsheet or any of the other spreadsheets I've done in the past, you can find them in the About section down below. After you find them, just click File, Download, then download them to a Microsoft Excel sheet. If you need a factoring company, you might try OTR Solutions. I use them for both factoring and fueling, and they're pretty good. There's a link in the About section down below as well, so feel free to use that link. It does help me out. And if you want to donate, well, there's the new webpage right there. It is through Stripe again, so it's secure and good to go. And I would greatly appreciate your guys' support. But that will pretty much do for this episode. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.